Hi, class, and welcome to Chapter 4's discussion. We're going to launch the slides and get going. So we're going to look at ethical and social issues within information systems. This is the last of our introductory chapters. So Chapter 5 is going to be all about computer hardware. So we're going to look at what ethical, social, and political issues are raised by IS. We'll look about principles of conduct that allows us to make ethical decisions. We'll look at what ethical really means. We'll look at what contemporary information systems and internet pose challenges to protection of privacy and intellectual property. And we'll look at how IS has affected laws for establishing accountability, liability, and the quality of everyday life. So your homework is really twofold, well, threefold. We'll have a question sometime in this chapter video lecture. You have a case what net neutrality means for you, and then the forum question is related because Burger King last year came out with a video regarding net neutrality. I want you all to watch it and tell me what neutrality is and what does it mean to you, not for you, to you. So one big happy net neutrality based homework assignment. And we bring up net neutrality because last year its protections were eliminated by the federal government, and it does have some implications, particularly on you all's age group, because you use technology more than people typically my age do. And net neutrality is really a consumption-based pricing model. It's pretty scary what's out there. So I watch the BK video. It's a great video. Answer the forum question, homework, and we'll be all set. So you wouldn't think ethics and judgment are really based in IT, but there's some cases here of failed judgment by people in using information systems. The European Union has just formed new privacy laws regarding data come about because of all this data is getting lost and broken into by people whose principles of right and wrong are a little flawed. And that's what ethics is all about, right from wrong. The biggest known case of failed ethical judgment was the Enron scandal of the early 2000s, which really changed my career. I was happy going along as a IT operations manager. Then Enron blew up, and we got the Sarbanes-Oxley Act out of it, and then I became an IT manager of operations who now had to write controls for compliance for maintaining our financial data. The last few years of my career in New York City were very rough dealing with audits and auditors and remediation. Not a fun thing to do. So systems raise new questions like, how do we enable social change? Who is responsible for it? Changing the distribution of power, money rights obligations, and new kinds of crime. We've gotten all this whole cybersecurity platform that's in the IoT world now. We've just built a cybersecurity major here at Marist. And what's it all about? It's because people are stealing either stuff from people, identities of people, or intellectual property of people. I tell my kids all the time, I'll tell you all that the internet is a dirty, dirty place, and just be careful out there. I hope you all are watching the Know Before Home course. I show it in the class on campus, chapter by chapter. It really shows you how dangerous the internet is and how to protect ourselves. So please do so and watch it. It's a great opportunity to get something added from the course for no additional charge. So here's a model thinking about Ethical, social, and political issues in an organization. Think of society as a compound. If you've ever been to a park with a lake, um, maybe a small stream that doesn't have much current, I think of Lake Minnewaska across the river from us at Marist over on the other side of New Paltz. Very calm, serene place. What happens if you drop a boulder in that pond? You get waves. Society's now changed. IT does the same thing. IT introduces change that people may or may not want, causing problems in the organization. An organization can't respond immediately. It may take years to respond. So we have to understand what's right and wrong and what's somewhere in between there when we look at accountability within systems. The 5 moral dimensions for the information age: information rights and obligations, property rights and obligations, accountability and control, system quality and quality of life. There'll probably be some kind of exam question around this. Who's responsible for system quality? What happens if a system isn't living up to its expectations? Who's accountable for problems caused by those problems? Who owns the software? Who owns the information? And how does an application of sorts affect quality of life? Look at all the popular Fortnite application. God, I hate that thing. I actually took it away from my son, but it had issues related to its gameplay. Who was responsible for that? Who's responsible for the theft of dance moves like the Carlton? Who's responsible for having it take over a kid or adult's lives where they may not be performing as well at school or at home or their job? Well, things we have to look at when we introduce change in the organization, the ripples that used to be a nice compound. Key things within technology. Computer power doubles every 18 months. Data storage continues to decline. Networks get faster and faster. More people have faster and faster cell phones. We use better use of modeling tools within data warehouses to look at snapshots of data. And we're more reliant on technology. And with that more reliance on technology, what can we do with it? We can profile, and we can look at non-obvious relationship awareness. So profiling, we hear a lot of profiling in the news about racial or religious or gender profiling, combining data from multiple sources to create dossiers based on information about an individual. NORA is an extension of profiling where it gets data from many sources to find connections. 2 summers ago, my family watched this show on CBS, don't recall the name, but it was about they would send couples and put them out in the land from law enforcement. Law enforcement was all retired FBI, CIA, police, fire, whatever. And they would use profiling in NORA to really find these people. They would use social media, banking, relationships with colleagues, friends, family, cameras, Internet of Things to track people's movements, accessing ATMs, etc. Fascinating show. Only one couple was able to last the entire experience and win the prize. But it just shows you how we use data analysis to look at what people are, who people are, what they do. Is that ethical? Is it moral? So basic concepts: responsibility. It's who accepts the costs, duties, and obligations for decisions. Accountability. It's how we identify those responsible parties. Liability, who we recover damages from. And due process, where laws are well known and understood, and we can appeal to higher authorities. So looking at ethical analysis, how we do right from wrong. First, we look at the facts. We define the conflict or dilemma and identify higher orders and things involved. We identify the stakeholders. We identify options we could take and the consequences for those options. So some ethical principles. We've all heard the golden rule: do unto others as they would do to you. Kant's categorical imperative. I love this one in class. If an action is not right for everyone to take, it's not right for anyone. I one time took a chair and just pushed it across the room. And then I had a student come up and say, yeah, push it across the room. And she or he wouldn't push it because it wasn't right for them to do. So I went to the group. So if it's not right for him or her to do, was it right for me to do? And the answer based on Kant would be no. Descartes' rule of change. If an action can't be taken repeatedly, it's not right to take it all. So that means if I can't do something over and over again, it's not right to do to begin with. Utilitarian principle. Take the action that achieves the higher and greater value. That's typically what we do as humans. Risk aversion principle. Take the action that produces the least risk or potential cost. More people should do risk aversion than do so today in 2019. And my favorite, ethical no free lunch rule. Meanings, simply stated, nothing is free. There's some kind of cost somewhere. And I look at it like this. My son's always looking for free Wi-Fi. Free Wi-Fi, we're on the road. Well, that free Wi-Fi comes at a cost because someone providing the free Wi-Fi pays for it. And we also pay for it because using free internet makes us vulnerable for cyber attacks. So remember, nothing is really free. There's always a cost somewhere. Professional codes of conduct. We're really determined by, professional organizations. We see some here, the AMA, the ABA, the ACM, of which I used to be a member of. It's a promise of certain types of professionals to act appropriately. Look what happens when a doctor gets continually charged with malpractice. They lose their license. A lawyer is governed by the rules of their state bar association. Same thing with the ACM. We should act ethically and responsible in all the actions we take using technology. Real world ethical dilemmas. I live this one every day at Greystone, where one set of interests are pitted against each other. Our value statement is everyone can live the life they choose. So, because we were attacked through a phishing scheme last July, we've had to take a lot of measures to secure not only our corporate data, but our privileged health information. And we recently put in a cybersecurity application that lets me monitor all the traffic leaving any kind of our computer, cell phone, tablet, going to the internet. So in theory, if I so had the time, I could watch where everyone was going on the internet. Would that be something ethical for me to do? Is it a good value of how I should be getting state dollars for my salary? Ethically, yes. Is it right to spend so much time doing so? No. I have the right to know where my employers are going. I'm giving them the internet, but my time is served by running an IT department, not stalking people and seeing if they're going to Facebook or not. There's going to be an example on the midterm about privacy and anonymous. So privacy is a claim to be left alone, free from surveillance. Everyone has a right to privacy to some degree, protected by the First and Fourth Amendments, the Privacy Act, the Patriot Act, things like that. It's not listed in the slides, I don't believe, but I don't think we have a right to be anonymous. We can't just exist or pretend to be other people. We have to be who we are on the internet. It's not ethical to do otherwise. We have a right to not engage with people, be involved in social media, not communicate with people, but we don't have the right to act like we're involved but not show ourselves or pretend to be someone else. We talked about Sarbanes-Oxley already. That's how we control financial data. We also have a thing with privacy acts, and how we maintain data we take about you. And you'll see a lot of websites you guys go to. You'll have this opt-in, opt-out where you can put in your email address and the company can communicate to you, or you cannot, and they can't communicate to you. Well, every company doing business on the internet has to tell you how you're going to use your data. And as I told you before, Europe has just really strengthened its privacy laws just recently. Makes it very hard to get by without protecting people's personal space in the EU. So the EDDP, European Directive for Data Protection, use of data requires informed consent. That means we have to provide our customers what we're going to do with your data, and you have to say, okay. EU members can't transfer personal data to countries without similar privacy protection. They've loosened their strings a little bit. Back in the early 2000s, we couldn't move data out of countries where we were doing business. We would have to have data repositories or data centers in countries we were doing business in. Challenges to privacy on the internet. First is cookies. Cookies are small pieces of data that's attached to all the packets you send on the internet. It's a good thing for you guys in that cookies let you go to websites you go to often, and then you go back and they return rather quickly. What it does for the website, though, is they can take your cookie, sell your browsing history to someone else, and then we can market to you based on your browsing history. Spyware, malware, ransomware, all issues within privacy. Behavioral targeting, Google services. The U.S. allows us to gather information for marketing purposes. The EU no longer does without your consent. You may often wonder why you're, like, say, searching through your feed of Facebook. Yeah, I'm 51 years old. I don't post really to Facebook very often, but I still look at my timeline. I, at one time, had Instagram, but I never really posted pictures, so I got rid of it. I didn't really get the need for Snapchat, and I do use Twitter for news about things that matter to me. So I'm a little more private than most IT people are. But people I do business with, I'll opt into what they market to me. I'll allow them to sell to me. If you're looking through your feed and you say, I was searching for a pair of Nike shoes, I didn't buy them, but Facebook contracted with, say, Finish Line or Nike, and I get an ad in my feed about, hey, you forgot to buy this, and the picture of the sneakers up there. That's all challenges to our privacy. Some people are spooked out about it. How are they getting me? Is this Big Brother 1984 all over again? George Orwell's launching at me in 2019. I told you, internet's a scary, scary place. Well, here's how cookies work if you ever want to know. This may be a good question for a drinking game. You win yourself a little bit of booze here and there. So us as a user, using a Windows 10 machine, Internet Explorer, and our email address, We look at some website which is stored on this server. That server passes us a cookie. We go to another place, or even go back to the same server, and it says, hey, welcome back. It's a way to have better customer supplier intimacy, but it's also a way for us to make money as the website owner, and that we're now going to sell your JDO123 to, say, Facebook or Google. How we can protect privacy? Well, we can do email encryption. Something I do here at Greystone, that we often send privileged health information, or PHI. We have a solution in place called Proofport Essentials that allows us to encrypt our email. It simply means we take the characters we type, we jumble them in what's known as assembly language, and that's just a specialized machine code that looks really funny, that you need a private and public key, much like opening a door to open. Other things we can do to be more private and secure: antivirus, anti-spyware tools. We can use private browsing features in all of our known browsers. We cannot accept cookies. However, not accepting cookies will often allow sites not to be able to load, because most sites want to have you receive cookies. Intellectual property is created by individuals or corporations, owned by those individuals or corporations. They could be trade secrets, they could be copyrights, they could be patents. Patents are dealt with inventions, good for 20 years. Copyrights are things like books, poetry, music, videos, about 70 years. And trade secrets belong to the business itself, not available to the public. We look at trade secrets here in the US. The two most valuable are Original Cook's Recipe and the KFC recipe for its fried chicken. We all know what copyrights and patents are. Did you know the downloading of music and movies and TV shows from things called torrents is illegal? I'm not going to bust anyone in class, nor my online class, but it's not something we should do. The whole MP3 industry blew up because Napster was a company, a .com back in the day, that would allow the free downloading of intellectual property. Well, a rock band called Metallica got fed up and said, to hell with this, and they went after Napster. Napster wound up getting shut down, and at the same time, Apple was struggling with its PC and laptop sales, so they seen an opportunity to have a new method to sell intellectual property, and iTunes was born and saved Apple. All of it means to really protect intellectual property and protect their brand. Challenges to intellectual property: we can easily replicate it, we can easily transmit it, we can alter it. We see all the time advertisements for free this, free that, get this, get that. Realize downloading from torrent spaces, you're more than likely going to get yourself viruses or malware. Back when I was younger, we would be able to get DVDs off the street in New York City of new release movies. Not very good quality, someone would sit in a movie theater with a camcorder. But now we do those by stealing from the movie house itself. We steal the digital file, we put it in torrent sites, and now we're selling it to people who are downloading for free. And it's really come to head again because of things like the Fire Stick and, Apple TV, and all these people that are cracking open these things and providing free content. I truly believe, and I used to work for a company that broadcast concerts from small venues across the country and had record deals with these independent artists, that the artists are due to royalties for their work. It's not right for us to get from them what they should be paid for. I truly believe in the protection of intellectual property. Who's responsible if software fails? It could be the manufacturer itself. It could be the hardware manufacturer itself. It could be the programmer who didn't do his job properly. It could be the operator who didn't do their job properly. What's an acceptable level of system quality? Well, it depends on who you talk to. With Apple and their operating systems, they don't accept any flaws. They release an operating system once a year in October, and that's it. If you look at Microsoft, who has a broader customer base, who really has to release operating systems timely to keep up with need, can't release flawless software. So they have bugs. They know they have bugs. They patch their bugs every month. It's very important for those of us with Windows-based systems that we run those patches every month, because those bugs can present vulnerabilities to our systems so that they can be taken over. What are some negative social consequences of systems? I already talked about Fortnite. All systems have some kind of need for people to use and not use. What's the consequences of not properly using a system? How do we respond to change? How do we respond to competition? How do we maintain that family work leisure balance? How do we limit computer crime and abuse? Other things that affect quality of life using systems. Health risks. Who would think a computer would have health risks? Well, first is repetitive stress injury. I'm a winner there, and then I've had elbow surgeries related to this. I'm also a winner of carpal tunnel syndrome. I've had 4 of those. Computer vision syndrome. I'm a winner there in that my eyes are prevalent to problems with the light within computers, so I have lenses specially made. Techno stress. My wife is big on techno stress. She coined the phrase, I hate IT. Technology really scares her and makes her a little stressed because she doesn't really have the time to learn but is forced to use. That's the end of our slides for today. And remember, we're going to talk all about net neutrality this week. I didn't come up with a question for watching the video, so let's do this. Why don't we why don't you tell me an experience where you've been using the internet and have been shocked by a site knowing that you were at another site, much like the cookie discussion we had. And again, it's like you're going on your Facebook feed and you see an ad of something you just shopped for. So why don't you tell me an experience where you've been browsing the internet and something you were looking at previously came back to spook you a bit. All right, guys, that's it for the chapter. Take care. Bye.